Hello, welcome to Bluebell Storytime Online. I'm Miss Mandi from the BBCML Memorial Library here in Sylacauga. The first book I want to read is called How Many Seeds in a Pumpkin? You may have bought one for Halloween or may have seen them in the stores. I would like to thank the author, Margaret McNamara, and the illustrator, G. Brian Karras, and the publisher, Schwartz and Wade Books, for allowing me to share this book with you. How Many Seeds in a Pumpkin? Charlie liked school. He liked his teacher, Mr. Tiffin. He liked his best friend, Alex, but he did not like lining up to go into school. Mr. Tiffin's class lined up by size, tallest to smallest or smallest to tallest. Charlie was the smallest in the class every time. One chilly fall morning, Charlie was surprised to see 3 bright orange pumpkins on Mr. Tiffin's desk. One pumpkin was big, one was medium, and one was small. How many seeds in a pumpkin? Mr. Tiffin asked the class. Does anybody know? Nobody knew, but everybody had ideas. The biggest one has the most, said Robert. I bet it has 1,000,000 seeds. Robert was the tallest boy in the class. The medium one has 500, Eleanor said. Eleanor always sounded as if she knew exactly what she was talking about. The tiny one has 22, said Anna. Anna liked even numbers better than odd ones. Mr. Tiffin wrote down all the guesses on the blackboard. Charlie was very quiet. What are you thinking, Charlie? Asked Mr. Tiffin. I think that all the best guesses are taken, Charlie said. Why don't we open these pumpkins up and see, said Mr. Tiffin. The next day, the kids in Mr. Tiffin's class brought in spoons for scooping and bowls for holding and plastic bags for throwing out. They covered the floor with newspaper. They put on their smocks. It's a messy business counting pumpkin seeds, said Mr. Tiffin, but the class was ready. After Mr. Tiffin cut a circle around each pumpkin stem, Kimmy, Alex, and Jake pulled off the caps. The children peered inside. This big one definitely has the most, said Robert. We'll see, said Mr. Tiffin. The pumpkin pulp was slimy and stringy, and the seeds were hard to get out. When the children were finished, there were 3 empty pumpkins, 3 full bowls, and 20 messy hands. Tomorrow we will find out the answer to our question, said Mr. Tiffin. Tonight your homework is to think about how we should count all the seeds. That afternoon, Mr. Tiffin dried the seeds. The next day, he put them in 3 paper bags marked big, medium, and small. Did you do your thinking homework? He asked the class. Yes, Alex said. I think we should just guess. I think we should count very, very carefully, said Tara. I think we should count by 2s, 5s, and 10s, said Molly. The class agreed that Molly had a good idea. Robert, Kimmy, and Jake all wanted to count the seeds in the big pumpkin by 2s. Anna asked if she could join them. We can be the 2s club, she said. They practiced counting. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, they said together. Jeremy, Tara, Eleanor, Molly, and Alex liked counting by 5s. We'll count the seeds in the medium pumpkin, said Molly. We can be the 5s club. 5, 10, 15, 20, they cheered. I'll take the smallest pumpkin, said Charlie. I guess I'll be in the 10s club. Good idea, said Mr. Tiffin. 10, 20, 30, Charlie began. Soon there were many groups of seeds in front of each pumpkin. Here's the 2s club. See, said Robert, the 2s club has the most. They had 170 pairs of seeds. Here's the 5s club. We have lots too, said Eleanor. They had 63 groups of 5 seeds and 1 seed left over. The 10s club. Charlie had exactly 35 groups of 10 seeds. Robert looked at the seeds in front of Charlie. You don't have a whole lot, he said. Let's get counting, said Mr. Tiffin. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, began Robert, Kimmy, Jake, and Anna. Took a long time to count 170 pairs of seeds. My brain hurts, said Anna. The biggest pumpkin has 340 seeds. Almost a million, said Jake. The fives were a little easier. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, chanted Jeremy, Tara, Eleanor, and Molly. There were 316 seeds in the medium pumpkin. Too bad for you, said Robert. It's not a contest, said Molly. The 10s were the fastest of all since there were just 35 groups. 10, 20, 30, 40. Charlie counted to himself. This can't be right, he said. What can't be right? Asked Mr. Tiffin. There are 350 seeds in my little pumpkin, said Charlie. That means it has the most of all. So it does, said Mr. Tiffin. Congratulations, Charlie, said Alex. The Tens Club wins. It's not a contest, said Robert. Mr. Tiffin told the class to gather around. You can never tell just how many seeds are in a pumpkin until you open it up, he said, but there may be some clues. Take a good look at these. The class did. Charlie's pumpkin is darker orange, said Anna, and it has more lines on the outside, said Robert. Yep, said Mr. Tiffin. For each line on the outside, there's a row of seeds on the inside. That's good to know, said Eleanor. And the longer the pumpkin grows, the more lines it gets, he added. Its skin gets darker too. So even though my pumpkin was the smallest, it was on the vine the longest, said Charlie. Exactly, agreed Mr. Tiffin. When it was time to go home, the class lined up by the door. Smallest to tallest this time, said Mr. Tiffin. Robert was at the back. Eleanor was in the middle. Charlie was at the front. Small things can have a lot going on inside them, Charlie said to Mr. Tiffin. And then they left the classroom, with Charlie leading the way. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. In the back of the book, there's some fun, it's Charlie's pumpkin facts, some other fun things about pumpkins. And I hope you will count, when you get your pumpkin for Halloween, you can count your seeds. And I'll talk to you just a minute, to the parents especially, about skip counting. This book kind of introduces skip counting. In math, skip counting is defined as counting forward by numbers other than 1. The children in this book count by 2s, 5s, and 10s. Skip counting can be used in everyday tasks such as telling time, we count by 5s, counting money, that's nickels, dimes, quarters, and pennies, sports, counting touchdowns or baskets, and counting large quantities. It's much easier if you skip counting. This is something they're going to learn in school, so how fun to go ahead and start learning some of that at home. All right, now I want us to sing about a pumpkin. You may already know this song. I think it's so fun. It's one of my favorite every Halloween. It's 5 little pumpkins. So hold up your 5 fingers and we'll get ready. 5 little pumpkins sitting on the gate. The first one said, "Oh my, it's getting late." The second one said, "There are witches in the air." The third one said, "But we don't care." The fourth one said, "Let's run and run and run." The fifth one said, "I'm ready for some fun." Woo went the wind and out went the lights, and the 5 little pumpkins rolled out of sight. Great, great, good job. Now the next book is about Halloween. That's what we're getting ready for. This is the Halloween tree. I'd like to thank the author, Susan Montanari, the illustrator, Teresa Martinez, and the publisher, Sourcebooks, for allowing me to share this story with you. The Halloween Tree. This is one of our new books. The Christmas tree farm bustled with excitement. Carols played as families moved up and down the rows of tall pine trees, exclaiming, "This one is beautiful," or "That one is perfect." Looking at the fancy decorated tree at the front, one sapling grumbled, "I don't like lights, I don't like decorations, and I don't like people." As trees disappeared off the lot, the little tree mumbled, "I don't want to be a Christmas tree. I never want to leave this spot." The little tree listened as the other saplings buzzed with anticipation. "I can't wait," a sprout whispered. "Colored lights," one sighed. "I hope I get a star on my top," said another. The little tree grumbled. "I don't want to become a Christmas tree, and I'm not going to." As the little tree grew, its limbs became gnarled and twisted. Every time needles sprouted, thoughts of being decorated with lights and ornaments made them turn brown and fall off. The tree looked nothing like the others. One day, all the trees on the lot disappeared, all except one. Eventually, houses began to appear, and with houses came families. By then, the tree had grown tall and broad. Its limbs were twisted and covered with strange knobs. One summer, the tree heard children's voices coming near and scoffed. "Ugh, people!" "Yikes," a boy named Ben cried. "That tree looks grumpy." "I like it," his sister Sarah said as she touched a branch. "It's so creepy, I dare you to climb it," their friend Thomas challenged her. Sarah pulled herself up into the tree and sat on a cozy bough. "It's a pirate ship," she shouted and waved for the others to join her. All the children climbed aboard. When the neighborhood kids needed a hideout, the tree became their fort. When they played astronauts and aliens, it was their spaceship. And one foggy day, the tree even turned into a dragon. When winter came, a cold wind blew, and the children didn't come outside to play. The tree, with its limbs empty, stood all alone. On a snowy afternoon, the tree watched as Sarah and Ben's father carried a large bundle into the house. That night, a Christmas tree appeared in the window. "I don't like lights, I don't like decorations, and I don't like people," the tree whispered, but it couldn't turn away. The next year, the same thing happened. The kids played in the branches until the snow began to fall. And the tree wished for lights, decorations, and people, things it had never wanted before. One spring, the tree tried to make its needles grow properly, but after years of trying to stop them, they came in looking all wrong. By summer, they had fallen off. A few months later, Sarah and Ben's parents were decorating for Halloween. Their father looked across the yard and said, "That is one horrible old tree. We should cut it down," their mother agreed. "Not now," the tree thought. "Not now that my limbs are full of happy children." Up in the branches, Sarah whispered. "No, they can't. We have to save our tree," Thomas cried. "I know what to do," Ben said, and whispered his plan to the other kids. They climbed down and raced away to gather supplies. When they came back, Ben was already up in the tree, wedging a huge jack-o'-lantern in a nook. They all climbed up, and from the tree's branches they hung white and orange lights, cobwebs made from string, rubber spiders, cardboard cats, and bats, ghosts, witches, and skeletons. That night, the parents and all the neighbors gathered to admire the tree. The children danced beneath, shouting, "Trick or treat," to each other. "I guess I was wrong," the tree thought. "I do like lights. I do like decorations. And I do like people. I love being a Halloween tree." Great. I hope you enjoyed that one, and thank you so much for joining me at Bluebell Storytime.